Good morning, good afternoon. I guess it's just moved into evening for David.
Yep. Good evening.
Are we live and good to go here, Andrew?
Give me 1 second. I'm having a little tech issue with the stream. I'm recording now in case for some reason the stream doesn't work, but give me 2 seconds.
Yep. Yeah, I was just checking because I couldn't find it either.
Why don't we start? I'm recording if I need to upload after, and I'm going to try to restart the stream in the background and edit it in. So it'll take a second.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, let's get started. Hey, David, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey.
Yeah, welcome. Big welcome to David. Welcome to everybody else who's joining us live. Basically, we're really excited to have both David and Aave at the event. Aave in particular has not just been a supporter of ETHOnline, but also earlier this year, a big supporter of Hack Money, and really enabled us to run that event in a big way. And really supporting us, all of last year and many events. So, we're particularly thankful to have Aave involved at ETHOnline. And they've been a really key supporter and really enable us to run these events for everybody. So it's been excited to have them here, and excited to have David here to chat about Aave and to chat about his experience and everything. And yeah, so I mean, big thanks all around, basically.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And we love being part of the ETH Global events. I think they're the best hackathons out there. So you guys are doing an awesome job.
Appreciate it. Awesome. Okay. Well, David, with the AMAs, basically, I'll give everybody an overview here. If anybody has any questions or anything that they want to ask David, please, this is an interactive session. So, drop either raise your hand on Zoom or drop the question in the Zoom chat or any way indicate, and, happy to have you come on and ask the question directly. So keep that in mind, as you're listening in, this conversation for everybody to be part of. So maybe kind of good place I think I'd like to start, David, would just maybe chat about sort of like how you first got interested into kind of crypto, right? Where did you have your first kind of aha moment? Where did this kind of really click for you? And how did you basically figure out that you wanted to, move your career into the blockchain space?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a long time ago in crypto years, in 2014, I first heard about, I knew about Bitcoin, and I was living in San Francisco at the time. And then a friend, Ben Longstaff, he introduced me to Ethereum. He said, hey, it's sort of like Bitcoin, but it's programmable. And I thought at that time, oh, that would be quite interesting, more interesting than Bitcoin for me. So then I went ahead and started getting involved there. And then since then, I've been on and off in the space. I did some work for Coinbase as well a few years ago. Experimented with Solidity, some smart contract things, and then eventually I was on Twitter as we usually are, and Stani had posted something about with flash loans, because that was when Aave had just been released early this year, about flash loans and how it could probably be used in MakerDAO to help MakerDAO users in this certain way. And I had a look at that tweet and I was like, yeah, that sounds good and possible. And I had some positions in MakerDAO as well. That was that I also thought that would be useful for. So then I created it, and that was called collateralswap.com. It's just the first version. It works. It's still online. And so since then we met at actually ETH London earlier this year as well. That's where the beanie comes from. And then from that, then I got talking to Stani, and yeah, then we got along, and I met the team, some of the team in London, and then that's how I started with Aave.
Awesome. So I guess in a way you're sort of, one of the group of people that went to one of the hackathons, got to actually meet the people in person, and that otherwise trickled into now a full-time position.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been building in the space and researching it a lot before then as well. But yeah, that's exactly it. I came into the space as a developer or builder, not as a trader. So a lot of this sort of DeFi stuff is sometimes new to me as well. So I had to learn a lot about finance, essentially.
Awesome, very cool. And then, I know you work at Aave, as it's a small company and probably a variety of different hats and different roles. But I know kind of primarily you're there as I think a software engineer. So I guess maybe it would be useful just to kind of get a sense of, basically what are you working on, and what does sort of a day look like as a developer at a large DeFi project?
Yeah, sure. It's pretty crazy. So there's a lot going on all the time. So I think in the company, maybe there's a few people like myself that wear a few hats or prefer to wear a few hats, whereas there's other devs in the company who only want to do development work. But for me personally, we were on a call before this, which is more about, I guess, marketing, BD type stuff. I do some development, both externally facing. So for example, the Gnosis multi-sig app, I did that. And then also I do some dev work internally. And then, I'm helping out developers with Discord and sometimes writing documentation. It basically changes every day, and it really depends on the priorities at that time. For now, we're preparing for the V2 release. So I'm involved in a lot of documentation around that and getting my head around that. Previously, we had the Aave token release. So then there was a lot of work and I guess reaching out to be done around that. So yeah, the day changes. I guess the great thing is I most of the time I get to choose. So sometimes, I want to do heavy dev work and get into it. There's always lots of dev stuff to do. Other times, maybe I'm feeling, I don't know, a bit more social, or I want to help out on Discord, or do some sort of workshops, and then that's available as well.
Awesome. So I guess kind of similar to working at a startup, really there's infinite amount of things that need to be done, and a finite number of people. So really it's sort of pick and choose and exactly. Basically focus on the things you want to work on the most, basically.
Yeah. So there's always a ton of stuff. Also, awesome. I do the I manage the grants program as well. So that's another thing that so if anyone after this hackathon, if you want to apply for grants, let me know, or apply through the grants process.
Awesome. I think we'll chat about the grant program a little bit further as well as we dive into this. Sure. And I guess kind of a question. I know you mentioned you joined the team at the beginning of the year. So you haven't been a part of sort of the kind of whole from start to finish. But when I first was talking to Stani, I realized that Aave was one of the first, if not the first, really DeFi lending platform in existence on Ethereum, right? One of the really, really early ones. This year has been crazy with a ton of platforms popping up very suddenly, becoming widely utilized and everything. The space is moving very, very quickly. So I find it in a way kind of surprising that one of the long-term kind of projects is still around and as relevant as, if not more relevant than before, right? So I guess my question to you would be what do you think can attribute to that, right? Like, what do you think about Aave being, like, how do you feel that Aave is kind of different enough that it maintains just extreme relevance, despite sort of a super quick moving industry, right? Like, how do you guys keep up and stay on top of things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, as you mentioned, Aave started in 2017 as ETHLend, which was a peer-to-peer lending protocol. So it's actually, it was the first, and we did the first decentralized loan or borrowing loan on Ethereum. So that was a long time ago. And then the start of this year was when Aave, as it is now, was released on mainnet. So I guess and ETHLend is no longer there. So it was like I guess a pivot, but a pivot still in the same decentralized loans borrowing area. And I think one thing that we do really well as a company is we're always trying to understand where the market's going. We saw that the peer-to-peer lending space, that was always a little bit difficult with matching up people that wanted loans at certain interest rates, or depositors that wanted to earn a certain interest on their deposits. And the lending pool model just works, or the money market model works quite well. And then that's sort of I guess how it happened. And yeah, these days it's I think the main one of the major contributors to Aave growing dramatically since we launched was actually where we try and be as collaborative as possible. So we, our documentation, we try and make that as best as it can. We're very, we participate a lot on our community Discord, and we try and help out as many people as possible. And we really like the grants program. We try and encourage others to build on us. We're involved in these sort of hackathons. So that's one of the things that we put a lot of focus on in the company, to basically get a lot of people building on top of us. And that's where actually a lot of the, let's say the deposits or a lot of the liquidity comes into Aave protocol from, not just from our website, but from, people building on top of us.
Right, yeah. And I mean, just for, everybody who didn't attend all of the other events that Aave has been a part of, I mean, yeah, to David's point, I mean, there are a lot of protocols that have come out of these hackathons themselves that do provide a lot of liquidity to Aave, and a lot of kind of deposits through using the underlying protocol, right? So yeah, I think it's been amazing to see sort of the progression of these projects and go on to become kind of big pieces of the ecosystem, but utilizing still these really amazing rails that are underneath the hood, provided by Aave and a number of other kind of pieces of the puzzle, right? So yeah, that's been very exciting. Okay, cool. So there's like a bunch of stuff that you guys are building. So I kind of want to talk about sort of all the different kind of new pieces that come out. I think most notably, like maybe in the last kind of couple of weeks, was the big migration from the LEN token to the new Aave token, right? I mean, maybe just kind of generally would love to kind of know what that was like internally, right? Like moving kind of from one token and moving hundreds of millions of dollars of value basically to a completely new thing. What was that like? Was it tense? Was it interesting? Was it exciting? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it's been awesome. So for context, the LEN token, it's called LEN because it came from ETHLend, the original protocol. And then since we have Aave now, we renamed the token, but also there's some new tokenomics involved where you can stake the Aave and things like that. So it was quite exciting for us as a company to create this new Aavonomics. That's what we call it, the tokenomics model. How can people participate more in the protocol? How can we decentralize governance? How can we give the protocol to the Aave holders, essentially? So it was a long time in planning. Everyone in the company could participate in discussions or how the Aavonomics evolved. Yeah, it was a lot was happening because we're a decentralized protocol. The users have to migrate themselves, right? So at the moment, I think we've had more than 70% of lend users migrate to the new Aave. Shout out to Jason who just commented that they migrated the first day. Awesome. So yeah, we had a lot of people that migrated on the first day and still trying to get the rest of the ecosystem migrating. But of course it's a permissionless protocol. So very soon we're starting to give more power to the Aave holders. So soon I think the Aave holders will have much more or nearly full control of the protocol. So then at the moment, the migration doesn't have a deadline. But if the Aave holders decide, through a governance vote to insert a deadline, it may force the stragglers who haven't migrated yet to migrate. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy and awesome. It's been hard as well because we're a decentralized protocol, but these days there's so many exchanges, and not just the major exchanges, there's small exchanges and there's integrators. So getting in contact with all of them and trying to just push out the messaging as much as possible, because sometimes people build on us permissionlessly, so we don't maybe not aware that they use us in some way. So,
right, exactly. Yeah, I mean
interesting.
There's like a big long tail, right, of people that you basically need to convince to migrate, and exchanges and smaller things that you don't even know exist, right? So that'll be the big challenge. I mean, I guess having a governance proposal that otherwise renders it required, you would have to migrate to then say that you don't want that to happen. So I think that's a pretty effective method.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then another launch that's coming up for you guys, and I think you've chatted about it a little bit publicly. So I mean, please don't share what you can, but thinking about kind of the V2, right, the kind of future of Aave, and migrating from what was built at the beginning of the year or launched at the beginning of the year to now the next version. Wondering if you could chat to some kind of, if there's any feature sets that are available publicly of like what you guys are building. I think there was a Medium article from Mark recently. I guess, what are some of the highlights for you that, like, what are you most excited about?
I'm really excited about V2. It should be out, it will definitely be out by the end of this year. So happening sooner rather than later. And there's some really cool features. For example, a lot of people really love flash loans in Aave V1, but they only could use it in certain use cases. They couldn't use it internally within the Aave protocol. So now in V2, you can use flash loans within the protocol to do various actions, which expands the design area a lot. We have native credit delegation, which is really cool. So basically what that means is, I can deposit funds into Aave protocol and say that, hey, like Jacob, you're allowed to borrow from my funds, right? So then you can, draw a credit from that. And that's quite powerful when you start talking about contract to contract interactions. And then there's other things like, like collateral swap. There's a collateral swap version of collateral swap in the protocol. So, if you're holding a certain collateral, price starts dumping, you're able to, in one transaction, swap your collateral into a different asset that maybe ensures the safety of your position a lot better. So there's a lot of things around making DeFi safer for users and also more seamless. So then, just a lot of these interactions can just happen a lot easier. Then the hackers and developers can build many more things on top of it. And then of course there's the other aspects that we touched on in the article about margin trading, inbuilt trading functionality in the protocol, which is also really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like it's kind of chock full with a lot of, both, I think, quality of life increases and then sort of like a ton of new functionality that I think, it'll be exciting to see what people end up using that functionality for. So I think there's one constant in DeFi, it's that it is basically impossible to predict how people use these primitives, or at least it's like always people will find more unique ways to use them. So yeah, no, I mean, I think I share your excitement on sort of, as we give people more tools to see what people end up building, right? So I think this is going to be a big moment for the industry as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And then, yeah, the last thing on the kind of new stuff, although this one is a little bit older, I mean, would love to talk a little bit about, the grants program, right? I mean, beyond the fact that, of course, Aave has a prize for utilization and use during the event, of course, there's sort of long-term grants as well that Aave gives out. So, would love to kind of hear a little bit about sort of how you guys think about your grant program, and then also like if there's any kind of notable recipients yet or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. So the grants program, we want to encourage hackers and developers to build on top of Aave. We've already given quite a lot, up to round 2 of the grants. So we've deployed quite a bit of capital to many different teams all over the world, ranging from 1,000 a day up until close to 10,000 a day. And the current round 2 grants program, you can apply for any amount up to 10,000 a day, but we prefer you to apply for something below 5,000 a day. Otherwise, there will be more. It's easier for us to deploy that sort of capital. And let's say notable grantees. It's quite a few. I mean, so Boardroom, I think that's a company that just raised some money, VC money. They got a grant from us. Rary Capital, Aave, of course, is probably one of the big ones. They came through, I think, one of the ETHOnline hackathons previously, or at least Dan Dakota went through it. And yeah, I don't know. It's sort of off the top of my head. We have a list somewhere.
They're into. So, look,
I think your audio just changed. Yep, I can hear you now. Yep.
So Aave, they're in the gaming NFT space, and then of course we have other more like hardcore DeFi projects that also got grants. Let's say like Rary Capital. So there's a whole range of things. We love to fund essentially any DeFi Saver as well. Sorry, DeFi Saver for a combo. So those are more like consumer facing apps or consumer facing businesses, and we love to fund, or we love to give grants to anyone that helps improve the ecosystem, improves the user experience, or even that if you're creating something brand new like Aave. You don't have to build exclusively on Aave. Like DeFi Saver, they provide a really good service just to the ecosystem. So yeah, we love to support projects.
Awesome. Great. And then just a reminder for anybody in the chat, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to raise your hand or drop the questions in chat, or just mention you want to give a question, because I'm basically wrapping up here. So I mean, David, you said that you joined the industry, or the as a hacker first or a developer first rather than sort of a trader first, and then mentioned like collateral swap as something you put together relatively quickly, I assume, as a nice utility. So I asked this question to basically anyone I do the AMA with, but if you were at ETHOnline and actually hacking, creating something, what would you be building on? What would you be trying out? What would you what's sort of something that you've been itching to create?
That's a good question. Haven't thought of that. I'd love to be hacking actually, but yeah, I don't really have the time, unfortunately. Probably not allowed to. But I mean, so I guess the obvious ones are like in the DeFi space. There's a lot of stuff like help improve yield farming, help improve help people gain a lot of little percentage points of interest. But those things to me, I think it's the design space for that is sort of quite crowded, and I think a lot of the creative ideas around that have sort of been done really well. I'd love to hack on stuff that maybe similar to Aave, where it's something totally new, right? Combining NFTs with interest-bearing assets like A tokens, or playing in the governance space. or even just making things easier from an end user perspective. So actually with the Aave token, there's a permit function. So that allows gasless transactions and things like that. So that, makes things a lot easier for the end user. So that's really the things that I'd love to be hacking on is, how do you just make these things easier for other people?
Cool. No, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think nobody's surprised that user experience is kind of lacking a bit still in the space. I think there's been a lot of movement this year, especially on improving things. Whether that's like L2 or XDAI or permissionless or gasless tokens. But yeah, I think there's a long way to go till we get to kind of Web 2 usability, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it looks like there's a question from Raul. You can either ask that question live, or I'm happy to read it out. Raul, up to you.
You can go for it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, so I'll read it out. So Raul says, just wanted to know if you guys are having any plans to try to cater to the institutional investors by providing them easy and secure access to crypto. So yeah, so basically, is Aave interested in kind of entering the custodial space at any point? Aave has been a historically non-custodial DeFi exchange. So yeah, are you interested in ever doing the custodial side, I guess?
So we haven't announced anything related to that, and personally, I don't think we're interested in that. So Aave as the protocol is decentralized, permissionless. We previously a few months ago, maybe we announced that we received an EMI license. So that's like a banking license in the UK. So we will have like a Aave limited company that is may become sort of like a neobank type thing, but that's more about onboarding the general consumer into DeFi, not so much about institutionals and institutional custodianship. Having said that, we prefer to work with people that really specialize in that. So we are partners with a number of custodian services, and it's more like they do that really well, and we just help them earn interest on whatever funds they're custodying. So that's not necessarily something I'd say we're looking into at the moment.
Yeah. Hi, I had another question.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. So are you guys as a money market protocol limiting yourself to individual cryptocurrencies, or are you planning to add financial instruments like the kind token sets you are creating, like DeFi index, like those kind of instruments? Are you planning to add them to the money market protocol?
So we have. So to answer your question, the Aave market, we have a multi-market strategy. So we have the Aave main market, and that's where the billions of dollars are currently stored, or that they're in. Then also we have alternate markets. One of our first alternate markets was the Uniswap market, so that allows LPs to use the LP tokens as collateral. And we've announced plans to have other markets, so it might be a set market. So there'll be like set tokens can be used as collateral. And then now, since we have the Aave-nomics and we're decentralizing the protocol, these decisions around the markets and the parameters and the assets and the things that are allowed to be used as collateral and borrowed in those markets will be up to the decentralized governance mostly, right? So from our perspective, we're looking to more like push towards decentralization, and we'll have our risks team, at least in the short term, that can evaluate, what assets should or shouldn't be. But from the perspective of, what can potentially be listed, that's really up to the community and the governance.
To follow up this question, so what do you think the governance tokens which started with comp, how will they be defined legally? Because they are not security tokens, they are more like loyalty programs. So what do you think the legal take can be on them?
I have no. It really depends on your jurisdiction with that. So we have our compliance and legal team, and then they look into that. But yeah, it really depends where you are in the world and things like that. So that's not really something I can answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great work.
Thanks, Raul.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for your questions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Looks like Vince also has a question. So Vince, you want to come on and ask that?
Hey, yeah. Sorry, I'm in the co-working space. So my impression just from the beginning of coming across Aave, talking to other people about it in the space, is that you guys have done just like a very good job of doing a balance of not only the security and usability on the tech side, but also just an excellent like user experience, which honestly in the DeFi Ethereum blockchain space is just sticks out a lot. And I'm curious to know if you have some insight on how that's been managed, how you guys have been balancing out, keeping on a strong hard security, hard development, as well as that balance with the usability, user experience, and keeping it just well designed. It just seems like something that's extra challenging, and you guys have sort of nailed it so far. And I'd like to know if there's like some insight on how.
Yeah, I mean that's thanks for your kind comments. Yeah, we are proud of our work, and of course it's a whole team effort. We're internally, I'd say that we're very much a rapidly growing startup. So let's say on the user interface or on that side, we move fast and break things. On the protocol side, we're like really slow. We get like many audits on any sort of smart contract changes. So there's a bit of a separation there. So on the protocol side, our core devs are really careful, take their time a lot, and things are triple, quadruple checked. And then from the UI perspective, or from the user interface perspective, we're really active on Discord and Telegram and our community channels. So anytime someone has a complaint or has something that they say, hey, this could be improved, or this information is missing here or there, that quickly flows into our design team, who includes Rowan, who's our lead designer, and who'll just knock up some quick design, and that will be implemented pretty quickly. So that's how I've seen it happen internally. So that's how I'd answer that question. I think did I answer the question?
Well, I mean, I know other projects do all that as well, but you guys sort of, it's not, a lot of your design and usability isn't, I don't think, drawn from someone saying, I'd really like, the design to look this way. You guys just came forward with it already.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the core, the foundational design.
Yeah, and what you also described at the beginning there, of you necessarily have to set aside some pretty hard, expensive resources in your back-end development, just means you're drawing even more resources that way, and yet you're still coming out with the usability. So it doesn't seem like you have any trade-offs there. I'm curious how that's been managed.
I mean, it's always. I'd say that maybe there's been a tough balance between, let's say, managing and not managing the process. So we do move rather fast, and I think basically everyone in the company wears multiple hats. So whether it's even on the non-technical side, they do many different things. So Rowan is our designer, so he comes up with those foundational designs. And then from nearly every developer can do a bit of front end, a bit of back end. So of course there's things like V2 is being worked on now, and sometimes doesn't make sense for the core devs to work on some front end thing. So someone else will get pulled off whatever they're working on to work on the front end. So the thing I think we've internally from developer perspective, all our devs, we're all generally like full stack. We can dip a bit into GraphQL, we can dip a bit into the backend, a bit into Solidity. So that I think that helps a lot, because if you have a really good designer and he can do the designs, then nearly anyone can implement them if the changes aren't that great.
Okay, so just a lot of multidisciplinary developers that can sort of move around consistently or constantly.
Yeah, I'd say that's that's
okay.
That's my how I'd think of it at the moment. I don't know if everyone in the team would agree with me, but that's what I think. I think that's how it's happened. I guess there's a lot of let's call it reprioritization that happens. You know, whatever's like the most highest priority right now, that can change. You know, day to day.
Okay, so a question on that. When you have what you just called reprioritizations, is that mostly managed at an individual level, or is that sort of directive top down a lot of the time? It's a pretty specific internal
I'd
question.
say that I think Stani and Jordan would agree with me that the companies are quite flat. So there isn't really a top down, I'd say. Stani founder, he's Finnish. And I think they're quite, the Finnish culture is quite collaborative. So if anything, there's a lot of collaboration and discussions, and not necessarily, you know, this needs to happen. It's more like everyone's a user of the protocol as well. So everyone generally understands, you know, this is obviously a big priority, or this isn't a big priority.
That
you know,
actually sounds like a big part of it.
Yeah, but like we're
probably
a
what it
reasonably
is.
small team, so we can, you know, just talk among ourselves and be like, yeah, well, you know, I tried this and this didn't work, or this works, so this would really help, because, you know, we're all users of it.
Yeah. The fact that you're using your own products and everyone sort of sounds like on the team is doing that, that actually sounds really important.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
That's right. Good questions.
Thanks, Vince. All right, awesome. We'll pause for a sec, see if there's any other questions that come through. Not seeing anything. All right, well maybe we'll wrap it up here. You know, big thank you, David, for taking the time to chat with us and with me and you know, the rest of the people here. And again, you know, a big thank you to Aave for, you know, consistently being a big part of these events and you know, really helping people create really amazing tech with your tech, but, you know, of course, just in general, you know, being very, very helpful and supportive of what's going on here. So yeah, big thank you. And yeah, looking forward to seeing everything that gets built on Aave in the next week.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and yeah, can't wait to see what everyone's building. Just make sure everyone migrate your LEN to Aave and participate in the governance as well if you want. We have a governance forum. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. And then take a look at the prizes that Aave has at this event as well. So I mean, of course, there's
sure.
a lot of reasons to take a look at Aave. So awesome. All right, we'll wrap up here. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks so much.
And catch everybody later.
All right. Catch you later. Bye.